Welcome to the Well Woman Show. Each episode is a transformational journey using mindfulness, feminism, leadership, and strategy to support you to thrive personally, generate wealth, and impact your community. And now, here's your host, feminist thought leader, London School of Economics grad, leadership consultant, and transformational coach, Giovanna Rossi.
Well, hello, Well Women. Welcome back if you're regular listeners, and a warm welcome to you if you're new here. If you found us on NPR or one of the other podcast platforms, I want to give you a big welcome. We are smart women changing the world, and we're doing it while we are struggling with anxiety, insecurity, all the things, right? Burnout. And we're in transition. We're maybe not so fulfilled right now in our careers, or maybe we are, but we're not fulfilled in our personal life. But we're very much defined by our values and our principles and our commitment to really getting after it and like improving things and living our life the way we want it to be, even though it can be terrifying sometimes. And so I just want to welcome all of you, right? Like all of the different aspects of you, whether you're married or single or a mom or not a mom, or, you know, whoever you are, however you show up here, really just welcome. This is your space for just taking some time to go inside yourself and investigate your story, investigate your thoughts, and really kind of get real with yourself and change some things up. And we're here to support you to do that. So it's super fun. And today, actually, I'm going to talk about a few different models that are out there that are super popular. You're probably recognize all three of them. And I'm going to talk about them and kind of give a summary of each one, and also kind of within the context of the Well Woman Life framework, which is the 4 stages of the Well Woman Life. You may or may not be familiar with it, but you can go to wellwomanlife.com/movement to check it out. And you can answer 2 quick questions, and then you'll get your answer about where you are, like which stage you're in. And the 4 stages are reactive, passive, active, and receptive. And it's kind of flows, the 4 stages flow into each other. And in the reactive stage, we're really cultivating awareness. In the passive stage, we are cultivating intuition or inner knowledge, inner wisdom. In the active stage, we're taking aligned action. And in the receptive stage, we are really accepting ourselves, accepting and integrating all of the tools from the other stages and living in a state of flow and happiness and joy. And so those are the 4 stages. And I'm going to talk about 3 popular models in the context of this framework somewhat, so that you can see like, oh, okay, that's how that relates to that stage of the framework. And the 3 models I'm going to talk about are Tara Brach, her model RAIN, Byron Katie's The Work, the 4 questions, and Brene Brown's Rising Strong. So those are the 3 things I'm going to go over today. There's links at the show notes, and the show notes are at wellwomanlife.com/203 show, and you'll find all the links there. For those of you joining as we're publishing, it's a couple months in to the coronavirus episode, the COVID-19. And for many of you, I just want to hold some space for all of the hurt and loss and grief, and changes and difficulties that people have been experiencing. It's been really hard, and I know that. And I want to also hold space for people who are finding a way to be in this that is not awful. And please don't feel guilty about it. Like, you might actually be kind of enjoying it in terms of, doing things that you haven't been doing up until now, or that you used to do and you're revisiting, or pivoting in your work in a way that you weren't expecting, or developing some relationships in a different way because of everything that's going on. So not to downplay the seriousness of what's going on, but also to say it's okay to be navigating your way through it and be finding some joy. So we can hold both, right? We can be there for the grief and we can be there for the joy, and that's life. And that's what we're doing. So let's get into the 3 models. So the first one is Tara Brach. She has a Ph.D. in clinical psychology. Her teachings blend Western psychology and Eastern spiritual practices, mindful attention to our inner life, and a full, compassionate engagement with our world. You can check her out at tarabrach.com, and there'll be a link to a meditation practice too at our show notes for you. A specific one that I chose for this episode, and that's wellwomanlife.com/203 show. So Tara Brach developed a practice of radical compassion called RAIN, and I'll go through and just let you know what each letter stands for and just briefly about how it works, and then I'll let you know how it integrates with the Well Woman Life framework. So the first thing is R, and that is recognize. So she says, recognize what's happening. That really aligns with the stage of awareness. That's the first stage in the Well Woman Life framework. And so recognize what is happening, be mindful about what's happening. The second one is A, the A in RAIN, which is allow. So just allow the experience to be there. Don't try to change it. Don't try to do anything with it. Just allow it to be as it is. And this can sometimes be really uncomfortable, right? Because once we recognize what's happening, we're like, oh no, let's get rid of that. Let's change that. And actually this is saying just be with it. And when we really embrace that and really learn to be with it, a lot can open up for us. So that's the second one. And then the third one is investigate. So investigate with interest, with curiosity, with care. Ask questions. What is that story about? What was happening there? So really investigating it. And then the last letter in RAIN is N for nurture. And here we're nurturing with self-compassion. And so the last two, the I and the N, are really aligned with the intuition stage, where we're really going within and investigating and nurturing that. And so whatever it is that's going on, and this is kind of the point I wanted to make with these 3 models, is that whatever is going on, you can pick different models, different ways of looking at it, different tools. We're all really working on the same things, right? We're working on, what are we scared of? What is the story we're telling ourselves? What are the thoughts we're thinking? And how can we be at peace and live with joy and love? And I think you'll find that all of these models kind of address that. And certainly the Well Woman Transformation Framework does as well. And I really want to point out that, when you're in different stages of the Well Woman life cycle, I provide different tools, and these models are definitely tools that you can use within these different stages. And so I'm trying to give you an idea of when to use which part of these tools in which stage of the Well Woman model or the Well Woman life framework. So you're using R and A, that's recognize and allow. That's in the awareness stage. And then investigate and nurture is the intuition stage. She really doesn't go into aligned action the next stage, the last two stages in the Well Woman framework, because she's very focused on the first two, which is great. We definitely need that awareness and intuition. So that's Tara Brach. There's a meditation, a rain guided meditation that would be really nice for you to do. And that's at tarabrach.com. But I'm actually going to put the direct link to the meditation, to the guided meditation in the show notes. We'll be right back. I'm so thankful for support from Natural Awakenings Magazine in New Mexico, a monthly green, healthy lifestyle publication, and for support from High Desert Yoga, promoting optimum physical health, clarity of mind, and spiritual inspiration for all. Many of you have followed my journey from consulting to women's leadership and empowerment, starting a nonprofit, raising 2 kids, and everything in between. I've really taken some time this year to focus in on where I can help the most women with their own desire to create social impact and also a good income for themselves and their families. As my consulting and coaching practice is growing, I found that one of my favorite things to do is the free discovery sessions. I love hearing about people's passions for the work they do, sharing what I do, and helping people understand what my hybrid consulting coaching is all about. Hint, hint, serious strategy plus spacious mindset. So if you find yourself worrying about whether you'll ever make it in the thing you're pursuing, or waking up in the middle of the night anxious about money, lacking energy you need to get everything done, or procrastinating on moving forward with projects and tasks, or even if you're in a leadership role, but you're second-guessing yourself and not getting things done, I'd love to talk to you. These conversations help me get clear on how I can help more leaders create the impacts and income they want, so they can start living with ease and joy. Plus, you'll get a free hour with me to get crystal clear on what you want to create for your company or organization and your life, and what's been holding you back. So if you're interested, you can book a call at wellwomanlife.com/learn more. We're back on the Well Woman Show. Okay, so number 2, the second model I wanted to tell you about and kind of compare and contrast a little bit and talk about how it aligns with the Well Woman framework is Byron Katie's The Work. Now, Byron Katie is the author of Loving What Is and A Mind at Home with Itself. And she's the creator of The Work. And it's just called The Work because it's really hard work, but very worthwhile. And you can find that at thework.com. Again, all the links will be at the show notes at wellwomanlife.com/203show. And also, at the show notes, I will link to an interview I did with Byron Katie. It's show number 75, but I'll just put the direct link in there for you. So the work is a simple and powerful process of inquiry that teaches how to identify and question the thoughts that cause all of our stress. So I really resonate with this method because it is not just hey, go meditate. Like what? It's actually a very clear process for questioning the thoughts that cause your stress. So it's very, very useful. It was a big deal for me. Ever since I discovered it, I don't know, 13 years ago or so. 14 years ago at this point, and I use it still to this day. And you'll see that the framework is really very much aligned with it. So, and the work, Byron Katie's The Work, it helps us not just remain alert to our stressful thoughts, the ones that cause all the anger, the sadness, the frustration in our world, but it also allows us to question them. And through that questioning, the thoughts lose their power over us. So let me give you the 4 questions. The 4 questions. Number 1, I'm just going to tell you, the number 1, 2, and 3 are very aligned with the first stage of the Well Woman framework, awareness. And then number 4 is aligned with the second stage. So you can see both in Tara Brach and in Byron Katie, the models are very focused on those first two stages, awareness and intuition. And then the Well Woman framework goes on to show you, what do you do after that? How do you take aligned action, aligned with your inner wisdom? And how do you move into flow? So the first question is it true? So you can kind of follow along as I give you these questions. Think of a stressful thought, something that causes you stress, like he lied to me, my children don't listen to me, my boss is unfair, any stressful thought like that will do. And the first question is it true? Yes or no? Most people say, well, yeah, it's true. Yeah, that is the case. And then the second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? And again, this is a yes or no question. This is not like, let me explain. But this is a meditation. Can you absolutely know that it's true? Just close your eyes and really go there with that stressful thought. Can you absolutely 100% without a doubt know that your boss is unfair or that your friend lied or whatever the case may be? Okay, and then the third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? What happens when you believe that thought? Well, you become defensive, angry, sad, right? So this is all of these three questions that I've gone over so far are all around awareness, which is that first stage of the Well Woman framework. The last question is, who or what would you be without that thought? Who would you be without that thought? Well, without that thought, he lied to me, or my boss is unfair. Without that thought, I would be free. I would be happy. I'd be relaxed. So go through and jot down your own answers to that. And that last question was very much aligned with the intuition stage and the other tools that I provide in that stage. So very interesting to see how all of these models sort of take you to the same place, but just in different ways. So that's thework.com. You can check out her work and the interview I did with her when I was at a conference at the Chopra Center in California a couple of years ago. I sat down with Byron Katie and talked to her. So you can hear that interview. It's show number 75. There's a direct link on the show notes for this week. Okay, so the last model I wanted to share is Brene Brown. Most of you have probably heard of her, read one or two of her books. She's a research professor at the University of Houston. She spent the last 2 decades studying courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. She's the author of 5 #1 New York Times bestsellers, including Rising Strong, which is the model we're going to look at today. So Rising Strong is a model for living a wholehearted life. And it's really, she compares it to her other books. And there's a couple of books before that she says the gifts of imperfection are about being you. Daring greatly is about being all in. And Rising Strong is about falling, getting up, and trying again. So I love that because it's very action focused. So that's the model we're going to look at right now. It's got 3 parts to it, and the first 2 parts really align with the first 2 stages of the Well Woman framework, awareness and intuition. And then the third part of her Rising Strong model aligns with the action stage of the framework. So it's nice. It takes us a little further into what do you do when you figure all this out? You take action. So the first one is reckoning, and that is recognizing our story. So that's very much coming to a place of awareness around what is the story that has been happening? What is the story I've been telling myself? There are lots of tools for like how to begin to do that. Definitely some awareness work, meditation, journaling, and just being with our story. Like, what is the story, right? The second one is rumble, and that is rumbling with the truth, is how she puts it, or really kind of wrestling. I feel like I want to say wrestling with our own story. So getting really honest. Again, this sounds familiar from the other two models that we already talked about, but it's this stage of deep connection to ourselves and getting super honest. And it's hard work because it's painful and it can be, not what we want to hear sometimes. But man, when you get it all out, you are so much freer to then go to the third stage in her model, which is revolution. So this is you choosing how the story ends, right? Like changing how we engage with the world. And this is aligned action in the Well Woman framework. It's taking action based on the alignment with your inner wisdom. So that's the third stage. So it's reckoning, rumble, and revolution. Those are the three parts of Rising Strong. And you can go to BreneBrown.com for her, more about her and her work. And we'll also link to it at the show notes. So that is a very quick summary of three models and how they relate to the Well Woman framework. Again, if you haven't experienced the framework, definitely go over to wellwomanlife.com/movement. And what's really unique about this framework is that it looks at not only what's going on with you internally, like how you're feeling, but it also looks at your external circumstances. So this is where we bring in more of a feminist lens, right? Like what's going on in your outer world and your inner world. And then we look at how they intersect, and then we figure out where you are in the Well Woman framework and give you tools to kind of move through it and get into flow. Yeah, definitely check that out. I'd love to hear from you in the Facebook group, wellwomanlife.com/Facebook. If you have questions about the framework, about what stage you're in, I'd love to chat with you over there about that. So coming up on the show in a couple of weeks, I'm super excited. I have Dr. Lori Santos, who's professor of psychology at Yale University, as well as the host of the Happiness Lab podcast. And she also, she started teaching a course a few years ago called Psychology and the Good Life at Yale University. And it took off, and, she's just really kind of become the happiness researcher, the happiness professor. And so she's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. That's going to be really interesting. And we can look at what she says about happiness and maybe compare her model with these other ones. So if you have other models that you want me to review or go over here on the show, drop me a line at info@wellwomanlife.com. I'd love to hear from you over there. Enjoy, and talk to you next week. That's it for our show today. Remember, if you need support to live your Well Woman life, head over to wellwomanlife.com/Facebook to join our community. As a reminder, we are on NPR every week, so be sure to tune in at npr.org/podcasts and search for The Well Woman Show. If you enjoyed today's show, please take a moment and subscribe, wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review. This helps raise visibility, which is super helpful when it comes to producing the show every week. For feedback, comments, or just to let me know you were listening, find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Well Woman Life. I'm Giovanna Rossi for The Well Woman Show. Until next time, have a super powerful week.